Dear Marina, dear Lotte, dear Phil, we meet here today on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the Zeitsicht Art Award. 8 years ago, in 2013, you, Marina, awarded this prize to Lotte Lindner and Steinbrenner. In your laudation, you said, "I really hope that they continue working together as they do now, and that we will see a lot of good works in future." And you added, "This award is well deserved." Well, today, 8 years later, Till and Lotte are still making art together, and they do it in their very own way. Lotte, Till, what questions pop up into your heads when you now sit across from your former teacher?
First is we are really, really happy and thankful to see you and still in love with you. So it's fantastic to be here. And actually, we really asked ourselves if there are kind of questions, since you have been our professor and you're, in a way, you will be it forever. When we met, not the last time, but one of the last times we met in New York, and you did, of course, The Artist is Present, and we met sitting in the MoMA, face to face on the chairs. So if people meet an artist, or if people meet a famous artist, the famous artist, Marina Abramovic, or if people just also love to be in the spotlight for a second, the 15 minutes of fame. And I would like to ask you, or we would like to ask you, how do you estimate it? What happened? Why did the people came to you? What was actually happening there?
You know, the public come for so many different reasons, and everybody has his own reason. The public come because they're curious. The public come because they love art. The another one, they're fascinated. What the hell I'm doing there on this chair? You know, the other one, they just wanted to see how long they can wait, and then to see what experience they're going to have, what it's all about. But this is all not important, the reasons why they're there. It's very important to me, the moment what really happened, what are on the chair. And we're sitting on the chair, first of all, they have to wait for so long. And the moment they arrive there, they are very aware. They're observed by the public who are waiting still. They're observed by the camera filming them, but the guy who's photographed every single person sitting there, they're observed by me. So there is nowhere to go except into themselves. And that when they actually realize that, they have to have time to be with themselves. This is why all these emotions came, and that's why so many people cry. And I think that experience matters. It doesn't matter everything else. For me, I was the most touched that I understood that really works this piece is when 86 guards of the museum, who normally just guard art, go home happily, don't want to come to the museum again, will go in the weekends, change the uniform, and wait in the line to sit with me. That means they want to experience. This was something that I said, hey, now I am on the right track. With the really normal people, the guys on the job, the cleaning lady of the toilet, all of them, they went and they have this experience. There was 76 people who sit there more than 12 times. They create a club, and they will see each other every month just to talk about, because something really happened. Something happened in the kind of conscious level that was not possible to explain, because performance is immaterial. You can't hang it on the wall. All what you have is experience, and experience you can't, you have to carry with yourself. You can't create object out of that. But first of all, I'm so happy that you're sitting in front of me, and I immediately bring so much memories to my life and to the study in Braunschweig. I remember so many things, so many wonderful stuff. And to me, which was wonderful, is the two of you really start a very autonomous single artist doing very, very different work. And I will till never, ever forget your diploma. It was just the beginning of the war in Iraq. And there was a kind of twilight. And you brought all this little lead, the soldiers, and you melted them and creating bullets. And I was thinking how wonderful how you can transform, something from the memory of childhood, related to the war and creating art concept. And to me, you really understood, yes, you're doing diploma, but you also become a real artist, and so proud of you. Then I remember, the Lotte work, but in so many different ways, what you've been doing. And it was also very different. Both of you would have a different kind of, the agenda. But then somehow, very slowly, the love started coming and attraction to you and relationship, and then you made this work that I think you should repeat one day, because it's incredible work that you made. I think it was in Castle when you had the holes in the wall.
Yes.
And then it was just unbelievable. It was one hole of the wall, and she was putting the hot chocolate because she'd done work with the chocolate before, and how she, you both took two different elements of your work, but you melted together in one single work. And then there was this thing that she was throwing this very soft, very incredible, fragrant, something so sweet and gentle, out of the hole. And this chocolate was kind of going and melting and getting more and more in space and become almost like a sculptural quality. And on the other side, you had the two holes, and you had your penis out of one, and then you were throwing the bullets on your penis, and these bullets was rolling on the floor and melting with the chocolate together. And to me, this was like wow, this is the beginning of serious relation work. And this was so incredibly touching, and I never forget these things. When you're a young artist, you do lots of work that you don't actually have really think about. You just do them because you have ideas, and you don't see the all the kind of philosophical and conceptual, the background, because you see them much later when you, like in my case, I've done some work that in that time didn't have any connection to anything, but looking now backwards, it's perfectly logical. At that time, for me, it was logical, but for you, you didn't realize what you're doing yet. So, another thing that I want to say is how incredibly complicated is artists working together. You have to admit that I know a lot about it, because, my relation with Ulay was not easy. It was ups and downs. And I remember in Karlsruhe, in 1970, I think 8, was a very important show. It's called the group show. It was artists who worked together and continue working together. There was artists who were living together, but they don't work together. There was artists who one start their work, they live together, and one stopped being artists because they could not take pressure on the other one. And there was the relation work would totally fall apart, and they hate each other. It was all different combinations of the different groups. And it's so very complicated. And now I go back to the artist is present, that in that case, before the work artist is present, I done with Ulay work for 5 years called Nazi Crossing, which we are sitting opposite of our table and looking at each other. And then actually that work and our relationship too. And on the end, we finished it. We just won Great Wall of China and stopped. But then when I get to do the artist is present, I exchange Ulay with everybody else. Ulay became the public, and I was there alone with them. And in your case, you just done opposite. You create the children. You create, you actually unify this into much stronger relationship. And I really admire this. But I have a question for you.
Okay.
So talking again, starting from that incredible visual thing, that idea of that softness and hardness of the chocolate and bullets put together, it's mind-blowing how that work in relationship.
Fantastically.
I think it was 10 years of really fighting, because we were coming really, as you said, from two different sides, from really opposite sides. And at the same time, this was so interesting and challenging to see that we have seem to have an image what we want to do, and then when we start to bring it into real, we realize that we have two completely different ideas. So
it was all a misunderstanding all the time. So actually we turned around the concept you had with Ulay, having harmony in the beginning and the big disaster in the end. So we had the disaster in the beginning and now we are in harmony.
Actually, we already started 2 years after we met to just not talk about who did what. So, but still it was a fight to get into the details. At one point, we just decided, okay, if one of us has an idea, we will just go for it. We just, we don't want to put it aside. If it's important enough, we just go for it and look what happens. And I think this is a point when it really worked out. We asked ourselves so many questions before the public was coming that we could answer anything. So
yeah, this is a big advantage. So actually, when I would be alone as an artist, I would stop doing art. I can't imagine like you do to do it all alone, because it's so hard. It's so much work I do not like. It's so, oh, no, it wouldn't be fun to me to be an artist on my own. So I go for this idea and not for the idea of, and so we go back maybe to the artist is present again. So since we are two people, it's never about one person or one personality. It's always about a team. And that way I feel the personality is a bit more in the background. So people just see the piece we do more than the artist couple. Of course, it's maybe interesting to have this artist couple thing, but we try to focus on the pieces. And since you are always in the center of your pieces, you've not been in the 90s maybe sometimes when you did this installations, the spiritual furniture and stuff like that. But right now you are so much in the center of your work that actually you are the work in the end. You are the piece of art, I feel.
Yeah, and that's so hard. I don't advise anybody. It's very hard. But you know, I can only take responsibility of myself. I can't take responsibility of anybody else. And also, you know, it's the body is universe. The more you explore, the more you know that you don't know. And I took my body as example, but it's a body. What just happened is my body, and I can't do with anybody else's body this. But you know, another interesting thing about it working, difficulties working alone, and why for me it was terrible when I stopped working with Ulay and the relation finished emotionally, because I was left with nothing. The work was gone and the relation was gone. So I have to reinvent everything myself. This was the hardest moment of my life. And what was great about working together, that you create one work and you share responsibility and you share the failure. And also you somehow, you have enough distance because other person can tell you, but this is bullshit. You know what you have, the idea or that one, and correct.
It sometimes does.
I never do.
It's so important to critical part. With you alone, you don't have that. You really have to go with your gut feeling and nobody else to help you, and then you can go and fail. But one thing that I learned in my life, and I think is so important, I want to ask you this also question for you. Failure is great, because failure means that you're going to territories you've never been and you're exploring something new. And of course you can fail. But don't be afraid. Are you afraid of failure? Is any project that really fail and you actually want to do so badly, and then in the process say, wow, this is real shit.
But actually, if I wouldn't have heard half of the work I would be failure. So this is not a good concept.
I'm really so persistent to discuss everything, and he has to suffer a lot.
It's a pain in the ass, yeah, but I love it. I need it.
But honestly, but do you feel sometimes that you have to do this work, even you know somehow as in a gut feeling that not maybe is great work? Because
You know what? I really remember you saying that when we were studying with
Yeah.
you in Braunschweig, and I oftentimes think of it when I'm not sure if we should do something, because maybe it doesn't seem to be art at all, or not in the realm of the contemporary discussion. I don't know. So it doesn't fit. Seems not to fit. And then I feel no. We have to follow what we want to express or want to try. Actually, I feel in so many times it's just like an experiment, because we don't know if it does work before we do it. So
Yeah, we have a big advantage. So since we are not famous, we can do whatever we want, and it will not be in the newspaper.
But honestly, freedom to, one thing that you absolutely have embodied, freedom of an artist, that artist is allowed to make work out of dust, out of anything. And you have to have this freedom to express yourself and also to surprise yourself. And sometimes it's very important. Ideas come and they're totally different than your previous work. And you think, oh, we are not following now the path. Who cares? This you have to be done. And then later on, the paths come together and you say, oh my God, this is logical, but you don't see it right away. And that's really so. I was always thinking, for me, teaching was very important part of my work. I love teaching because I love to express all my experiences too, because I went through the whole shit. So then why you have to go through all shit? You if I can tell you, you don't just have courage. All what you have to do is a courage, and there is a wonderful about couple situation. There is a wonderful statement of Lou Reed and Laurie Anderson. When they got together, I mean, they didn't really make work together, but they lived together, and as two independent artists. And when they got together, they say we're going to agree with the three things. The first thing, we have to have a good detector of bullshit. Everything what is bullshit in the work, in our life, in relationships to others, we have to cut it out. That's bullshit. Second one, we have to be not afraid of anybody and anything. And the third thing, don't forget to be tender. Yeah, and somehow, talking about, don't be afraid. And two of you, there is a tenderness and hardness, and this unity. And this is why I'm telling this piece was so important to me in Frederiziano of two of you. This is to me like one of the pieces I never forget. Really.
Once we'll redo it.
Just putting chocolate on the cars, and before everything what was hard, she was covering with the softness.
And if you ask him, he would tell you, I'm not soft at all.
Come on.
But it's not. Each of us have so many personalities that you have to live with, and that's very important.
Yeah.
Multiple characters.
I really like to know from you. Did you really benefit from my teaching?
So much.
Till this second, I mean, really, there's almost no day since we left Braunschweig, or I left Braunschweig, till I'm thinking so much of what you said and what you did. I mean, actually, maybe we did not discuss so much about our works, but my experience in what and how you were teaching and what you were doing was so important, at least for me. That I benefit from it.
We were always scared when Marina told us that she'll be in Braunschweig to teach, because it was always such a hard time she gave us. She was so full of energy that we all needed 2 weeks of rehearsal, of retreat after her presence. So this is also about the artist is present and Marina's special kind of presence. And in the same time, it was always so really mind-blowing and so fantastic. And I would agree to Lotte, there is no day I do not in a certain moment think about that time, which was so enriching for all I did afterwards.
Yeah, and for me, it was not so much that actually the discussion, but that you always asked us to do something.
Yeah.
So you ask us to make a video or to show an idea, not talk about it, but really show it in front of the others. And I remember the open classes when you said, okay, we have to invite others that are not part of the class, but we can have this discussion not only in the little group, but also to the public of the academy. And times like that were so important, and that you never said, okay, when we go to Dublin, for example, to have a show, and you never made a distinction between, oh, you can go and you cannot go. You always said, no, you all go and you all do something, and then you will see what will happen, and if your work does what you want, or if it doesn't work. So I think
you've been really generous and really not jealous at all. What many teachers are.
When I came to Braunschweig, I understood very important thing, that you can't just make art for the art. Have to serve something, have to serve the public, have to bring ideas out, have to have function. And in there, people all the students was lazy. They was doing nothing till Jahr on the end, and then they killed themselves doing something on the end. And I was saying, okay, this doesn't really work. So I went to the Hannover, to the Kunsthalle, and I say, okay, how many days you have between the shows that the Kunsthalle is empty? And they said 3. I said, can you give me this 3 days infrastructure and we can do something? And the guy said, no, we can do 24 hours. And this is how we made 24 hours. You remember the event. And this was opening, everybody was working. We had this, and then we got Biennale in Venice, then we went to Kassel, then we went, things was opening incredibly because and then we created IPG group. And when I left, IPG group didn't work because of jealousy and egos.
Yes.
Terrible. And this is terrible because I really give you good ground to continue, because it was, you could have infrastructure, you can propose the performances, you can be everywhere in the world, and then just collapse. And that was really the problem, how we actually, can't work well together with the lots of different egos. Ego is a huge obstacle, always been. And I never wanted to, to have that kind of jealousy of ego. I think there is a plenty place for the good work in this world, and you have to support it, really.
When you look into today's art world, what is the most interesting position? What are the most interesting tendencies or people you can see when you see art nowadays somewhere in the world?
It's so interesting. Just recently, Lawrence Wiener died. Which I knew very long, and there was a wonderful interview with him, and I was reading this interview just 1 week before he died, and there's so many similarity what he said and what I've been thinking. And he was asked exactly the same question. What is now the meaning of art? What art should be? The question what art should be? And doesn't matter where art goes. Art have to be emotional. Art have to have the message, and there is just 2 categories: good art and bad art in any category. Right now, everybody want me to do NFC, the new technology.
Yes.
And they say, oh, your art is made for it. I don't think it's my art made for it. But my problem in NFC, I didn't see anything good. It's real bullshit. I mean, all what they're talking about, they're always saying, oh, yes, it's $62 million. But $60 million is the money value. It's never reason for me to do art in the first place, ever. The first time I got money to make performance, because 3 months I could not work. It was in MoMA. And they give me exactly the money that I need for 3 months to pay my rent and the expenses. This was exactly, and never been paid, and now I got a recently email, if I would like to do for the auction, NFC project to sell my soul. This was the best. I received this like 2 weeks ago. To sell my soul. Okay, I'm definitely not doing it. But the one thing about NFC, I don't want it to trash the new stuff, because I never do that. I'm always curious and interested. And there is also possibilities. And I see, if you look backwards, what happened in the beginning of history of the video art. When video art started, first was not considered as art at all. Then, It was terrible bullshit. It was people using the camera in many different ways. There was nothing good. But then arrived Andrew Pike. When Andrew Pike arrived, he put Buddha inside the monitor. He put in front the Buddha, looking at his Buddha image in a TV. Everything stops. You become restless. Something incredibly important happened. You start thinking, your emotions, and when he done another one, remove everything, put the candle in the middle of the monitor. Wow. So then he take monitors and make the garden. You know, he took the media, but he created art out of it. And art will have the meaning. NFC probably need time. That's all what I can say. But a part of this, there's lots of interesting things, lots of things in music, things in very young performance artists. I'm looking very much young generation, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22. The kids I am looking around, they're not older than 22. And they're interesting.
If I'm allowed, I have one question here. What would you recommend to young artists who are not decided yet to go on the professional path?
You know, nothing, because the art, you can't decide. It takes you. You know, it's not like a kind of Sunday job. You know, or you are going to make the painting on Sunday and then I go to factory on Monday. It's, you know, doesn't matter professional, not professional. You wake up, it's like oxygen. Did you question breathing? You can't. You wake up in the morning, you have ideas. And you're obsessed by these ideas during the day. And then you feel them in the stomach and you have to do them. You're an artist, professional, not professional, you start doing art. You know, so many artists never actually succeed to be professional, but they've done great art and they've been discovered 100 years later. Art is in your DNA. Okay. When somebody comes to me and say, I want to become artist, I send you home. You can't become artist. The Mozart already was composing when he was 7. Raffaello made his best painting when he was 18. Rimbaud disappeared with the 25 and make all his books. You know, it's like that. It's no young or old. There's something in you, like a fever, like a total addiction. You have to create. That makes me honest.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, I would say that it's not possible to calculate like an artist. An artist never calculates.
No. It's actually no decision. So for example, I turned towards art when I was 30 years old because I was actually too shy before to call myself an artist.
It's really important, that question about, when you say I want to be famous and rich, I mean, this is side effect, happen or not happen, but it's not the reason to do art. Yeah. It's, you know, I always wanted to suggest to young artists to read this beautiful book of Patti Smith called Just the Kids. It's a very small book. It's like maybe 85 pages, 100 pages. But she's talking about period in the 70s in New York with the Malperton, you know, the photographer, living together, and how they make art and how they believe, you know, on the values. And the money was not even, they would work in restaurants, they work as a taxi driver. You know, the idea of even living from art was not even considered that it's possible. You know, when I was doing my early performances, I never even think I ever could sell such a stuff. But, you know, this was not the reason not to doing it, because there was urge would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And the disability to do something else.
Mm-hmm. So, and then if you want to do, you know, I was thinking, what I would do if I was never artist, you know, the talent I would like to have is to sing, but I never could sing. And the next one, what I really love is real estate. I love houses, looking for professionals and renovate them. But I mean, not in this lifetime. You know, when the people say to me, I finished very hard performance, and then they want to talk about art. I hate that. You know, you give everything, 150% of yourself. All what you want is ice cream.
So we can't offer to you. I'm so sorry.
But I think it's a good conversation. Come on. Yeah. I think there will be maybe a good time when I'm 80 to do reunion somehow.
Oh, please do so. On which side are you right now? Are you on that side? Can you see me here? Can you feel my hand?
Yes, I do.
Give me your hand.
Ah, wait.
Ah, okay. No.
Oh, other side.
Other side. So
other side. So yeah, yeah.
How's right? What way is right? Is this right way?
Okay. Yeah.
On this
Okay.
side. Wow. Very good show.
Oh.